Hello, it's good to have you join us again. You're welcome to our show. This is Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. First, two things. Let me first apologize. We're starting a little bit late. Well, you know, it happens, some of this, all this little logistic that we have in Lagos, but we are here. That is the good thing. Then secondly, I must say a huge thank you to all Nigerians who joined us last edition of this show, and you contributed immensely to the route that the conversation took, and you also did tremendous justice to what our guests, our distinguished guests who was here last week, what he did with that issue that we raised on this program. So today again, we're inviting you to join us so that we can see how we navigate this question of how Nigeria can become one of the greatest nations on the face of the earth. That is what we are praying for. That's our dream, and let's see how that is going to be. But let me now quickly prime you on what we are dealing with this time around. We are looking at the fact that not many of us sleep comfortably every night. We are dealing with the fact that we have so many Nigerians, citizens, passport carrying Nigerians maybe, or ID carrying Nigerians maybe, or well, Nigerians in one sense or the other, sleeping under bridges or in abandoned properties all across the country. We are dealing with the question of, so how do you begin to get rural Nigerians to, can they engage in mortgage? Is that possible? Is that an institution that is found in rural Nigeria? So how do we begin to look at the housing and construction business in Nigeria and how that can impact itself on economic growth and the change elements that we have all been talking about? We are also going to be looking at, well, the fact that we have such a huge deficit. There's a report that says we need close to some like 7 trillion naira to see how we can reverse the deficit in housing in Nigeria. I don't know where we're going to get that kind of money from, especially now when the economic growth across the globe is slow and it's even dwindling in some countries. We are also on the issue of the fact that some sector of the housing and construction business will actually be looking at contributing less than 5% to the GDP. So how dismal is that when we are looking at aggregates of what contributors bring onto the Nigerian economy and the space that we are trying to see how to rebuild this nation. So we'll be looking at this and so many other issues. Another question that is on the table is the fact that about 20 million, as it were, nearly 20 million units we will need to build in terms of housing to accommodate or to bridge that deficit. These are very germane issues, and they are a little bit worrisome and of concern to so many Nigerians. And so we have gone to the we've gone to the public space there, and we have invited a distinguished Nigerian to come and look at these issues before they become a pandemic and see how we can therefore address them and reverse, well, the negatives in what we are going to discuss. That is what we are looking at today. We are looking at the gap in the Nigerian housing condition and system and how that gap can be bridged. Stay with us.
Experience unlimited superfast internet access from NTA2. Intel. Live more. Hey beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited superfast internet access from NTA2. Intel. Live more.
Hello. I'm sure you're with us here. Yes, this is still Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Let me quickly help my producer out there. Yes, he gave you a brief shot of our guest on set. Our guest, incidentally, is an accountant. He has a BSc in that particular field of study from University of Lagos here in Lagos. But after all that, come and see what he has amassed over the years. Over 20 years, he has been involved in so many, as it were, multidisciplinary, multicultural experiences in business development, logistics management, consultancy in real estate development, tender negotiations, business evaluations, banking, financial credit analysis, relationship management, even marketing and financial reporting skills, as well as leadership coaching and mentoring. That's quite a lot for a young man. Otumba is going to be, I shouldn't have given you his title, but let me just, maybe I got a little bit overexcited. And our guest, incidentally, is a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultants of Nigeria. He's a member of the International Council of Management Consulting Institute in UK. And besides that, he likes to mentor people and to develop solutions to difficult situations. So it's right on his table for us to look at the business of construction and housing in Nigeria and how we are addressing it. My pleasure to welcome on your behalf onto Close Flow, Otumba Bemi Oyeneyin. You're welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You can see the broad smile on his face. That is telling us that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. There is a light at the end of the tunnel when we look at all these issues.
Definitely. As long as there's life, so there is hope.
As long as there is life. Well, some people have said the quality of life in Nigeria cannot be defined as life itself.
Well, what do we say? COVID is ravaging the world. And in spite of all that, life is always in cycles. Life is always in cycles. So all
that
of
is
this,
a great information my viewers would like to hear.
all of these events will surely pass. It's also a phase and a stage of life.
I like that.
Oh, yes.
That's deep. That's really profound. Now, but in Nigeria, housing and construction sector accounts for barely 3% of our GDP. Now, how can we then compete with many developed or even developing economies where this same sector accounts for nearly 70% of the GDP?
Yeah, don't forget that our economy is a developing economy. And just shortly before the program, we were just talking about how key sectors of the economy have been neglected.
Or abandoned.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, to use the extreme.
But neglected. And it takes maybe different administrations to actually see and then maybe pay attention to some of those key sectors. And that is what we are suffering today. I mean, look at the state of our universities.
Yes.
I left Unilag in 1995.
Yes.
And the last time I was there, maybe about 5 years ago, I was almost in tears. Yeah, this is the same Unilag. When I saw students carrying buckets to go and, get water. I mean, and I learned that I mean, so it's just some of those key, and housing is also something that government has somehow just left to the citizens to sort out, and that is where we also have to devise a means to still ensure that even the low-income earners can still have a hope to have something, to have a house, and have a plan.
Okay, well, we will not go and look at what UN says we should do in terms of meeting housing requirements. But I'm saying, let's even look at our environment. Let's situate it. So how symptomatic, really, is this question of the gap? We are saying some people are reporting that we need close to, that we have about 20,000 units or 20 million units that we need to meet.
17 million.
So now, you're an expert in terms of numbers, in terms of accounting, in terms of financials, having worked in the bank. So how bad is this? Really, how bad?
Well, like I said, it's really bad because when you look at it, I mean, if you're talking about 17 million gap in terms of housing needs, then that's huge capital. The banks are not even there to finance, real estate. Yeah, they're not there. So even for real estate companies, they have to source for their own funding.
Are you serious?
Oh, yes. Because if you don't have a land that already has a C of O or something, nobody's going to finance it.
Now, we were going to look at that later, but now that you have brought it up, some people are saying that the deepest root of the challenge that we have in that sector is the Land Use Act.
Well, that is our law, that's our constitution. Every land, belongs to the governor. He has, the
absolute authority over.
Absolute, not even the presidency, the governor. I mean, that is why every C of O is signed by the governor, and he can revoke it. So, I mean, we've had instances that people, even with C of O, government comes and maybe for a genuine reason or whatever. Yes, I mean, they are being revoked. So it's just the way it is.
No. Well, I agree with you, Bashir, that that's just the way it is. But if that's the way it is, are we we are hellbound to live by the way it is?
Yeah, I mean, except you are now talking about constitutional review, and that is a long process.
But for professionals, from operatives like you have been in this business as well too, consulting for real estate. Okay. So you're saying there's nothing that you can do as a group together and say to yourselves, how can we redress this? How can we?
There's nothing for now. So the best is for us to walk around it. Like they say, if you cannot go on top of the mountain, then you walk around
the mountain.
I mean, that's the best you do. And as professionals, I mean, you also try as much as possible to let your clients also get the best, so that whatever you're offering them, I mean, has no encumbrances and all that. So.
Okay. Now, another thing you must admit, people believe that one of the greatest investments in life would be to invest in properties.
Definitely.
Because it seems to be multiplying rather than...
Definitely.
Okay, so why has it not been possible for us to turn that around in Nigeria? Why is it not possible for us to invest in the properties or in property development or in housing development and use that, as it were, as a multiplier effect on the economy? Why?
Well, that's why we're encouraging people. I tell everybody, friends and families now, for us in this part of the world, I mean, the only gold or the oil, the ordinary man can hold on to is land, and that is why we're saying, no matter what it takes, just get something somewhere. For those in Lagos, it's even very, very,
critical.
No, it's interesting because the value of land,
yes,
I mean, appreciates so
quickly.
For example, now, like what is happening in the Bejuleki axis, where the Dangote refinery is coming up maybe next year, thereabout.
Yes.
I mean, anybody who want to be smart should just acquire something there.
My viewers, if you are following my guest's suggestion, you have to pay me a commission
For consultancy, right?
Yes, please. Okay, please go ahead.
I mean, if you're smart now, I mean, I was at LTV8 on Friday, and I was talking about smart business moves. Now, that axis of Ibejuleki is going to be the greatest, asset anybody can
acquire.
That can acquire now, that is going to appreciate so exponentially. In fact, probably it's going to be like the fastest, growing, land in the whole of Africa. Because the refinery
Otumagbemi, be careful, because I know that some people may call right now and ask you to give them a land in that area for.
I tell you, Dangote refinery, I mean, there was a documentary on Arise last week.
Yes.
On the facility. It is 80% completed.
Yes.
And
It's good to go, yes.
They've affirmed that by next year it's going to come up strong. So that axis is going to attract over 1 million people.
Alone.
Yes.
That's alone.
Axis.
Yes.
The refinery itself is recruiting about 10,000 workers every day who will be resuming and closing. Apart from the auxiliary industries that will
Now spring up from there, yes.
So a land that is going for 2.5 million today, in 2 years' time could be 15, 20 million. That is just a fact.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yes. So that's why anybody who is smart now must get something in that axis.
Okay, now great. Like I said, you cannot take a decision unless you call me, okay? Because you have to pay for this. Now, quickly, I love the fact that we are looking at the optimistic side of the story. But again, there's a flip side of the coin. So we need to look at that as well too. Do we really think we have developed sufficient professional capacity to manage what you are projecting, what you are seeing, what you are foreseeing, this vision, this prophetic saying? Do you think we have sufficient capacity, professional capacity, to really manage what you're talking about?
If you talk in terms of government preparedness,
yes,
the answer is no. Because up to now, we expect that, number one, dualization of the electoral road to and beyond the refinery axis
should have been completed.
Should have been completed. 2, alternative routes from that end, because it's a dead end. If
you can use that expression.
I mean,
yes,
it's a dead end. Alternative routes ought to have been created by now. Because an axis where thousands of vehicles, trucks, are going to be plying daily
or hourly,
then proper planning ought to have been done by now. But just like every other thing,
last minute rush.
We like fire brigade approach and all that. Yes, it will be done, but so that is now the aspect that is being done is the Ekpe to Eleko axis.
Yes.
So that is going on rapidly. They are working.
Are you comment that?
Oh yeah, that is. But like I said, apart from that point, now the
nexus, yes,
where that actually leads to the refinery. I mean, that has not commenced.
Okay, great. So that's part of the public service. Now,
yes.
How about private practice? Do we have the same level of? Do you think we have sufficient capacity to manage this? Let's be fair now.
Well, if you talk about the private sector, that is where the real estate companies come. I mean, everybody is ready. That's why we've been there. That is why, estates are, coming up there every day, preparing As I speak to you, I mean, we are having, you know, a lunch there this Saturday.
Okay, again, let me quickly warn you, you cannot go for that lunch unless you see me. Okay, all right, Otumba, you are releasing too many carrots.
Yeah, but that's the truth.
All right, we will take a short break. I'll be back. Just stay with us.
We must dilate the eyes, we look for if they have cataract, look at the back of their eyes, they have glaucoma, you know, we do a full workup for them.
You will remember the insurance check they will make. You will remember with nostalgia.
We're going to be looking deeper than we ever looked in before to ensure that we close all the loopholes.
It manifests as physical somewhere.
Every edition is an arresting conversation with distinguished Nigerians from various strata of the society, bearing their minds on how we can realize the Nigeria of our dreams. Join us live on Close Flow, Monday, every week here on NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Close Flow. The conversation is about you.
Thank you for staying with us. And we still have Otumba here in the house. It's not going anywhere. We just needed to give him a breather because he was getting heated up. But I know now that he's going to address the issues quietly. Now, quickly, because the conversation is about you, we would again want to encourage you to please join in early. So I will give you the numbers, and I will beg you, plead with you, if you want to enjoy the conversation like we did last week, then just follow our simple protocol, because, well, pandemic is saying we should use protocols. So the simple protocol here is this. For your voice call, we have a dedicated number. For your SMS, we have a dedicated number. Don't mix up the two. Don't go and put your voice call on the SMS and put the SMS on the voice call. Otherwise, no communication. So let's go right away. Voice call, here is the number, 080-5975-3044. 080-5975-3044. That is for you to call and speak to Otumba. Now, if you try to call to speak to him and there's a drop call, because we experience that all the time, we are hoping that our telephone provider services, they will overcome that in a short while. Then send this SMS message. Please, don't continue to call, because that you're just wasting the time and the day. Rather, send SMS to this number, 080-6350-8434. I'll say that again. Send your SMS, which is quicker, faster, and cheaper, to 080-6350-8434. And Otumba will respond to your queries or to your worries or to your comments. He has given us two different Indomies, as it were. He says we have to invest in Lagos. He also says how quickly you can get that done. No, I'm not going to repeat them again so that you don't go and take the advantage over me. Now, Otumba, let me come back to you. I like the broad smile on your face, but in contrast to the frowns on the faces of so many Nigerians who are of the opinion that in your industry, there are too many bootleggers because of the level of intermediaries between intermediaries between you as a professional and you are providing a service to people. The person wants to consume your service. There are so many, besides the area boys, besides the landowners, besides this, before you know it. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I think we have already solved that problem.
You have?
Oh, yeah.
But they're still operating in the environment.
Well, that is if you want to go through them. I mean,
okay, so
nobody's going to advise you
yes.
now that if you want to either buy a land or build, go through a real estate company. And I mean, there are quite, you know, a lot of them in the industry.
Like how many are we looking at right now?
Reputable. We have a good number of reputable.
But we cannot hazard a ratio.
No, I mean, because what the real estate company does, for example, like what we do is, I mean, you don't bother yourself about the monile issues. You don't have anything to do because everything is within the estate concept. So you are buying within an estate, so you can go to sleep. You have nothing to do. Road network is being done. It's going to be gated. It's also going to be maintained, you know, by
that company.
Yeah, so you're not being left alone.
No, but Otumba, that is good for urban areas. What happens to rural dwellers? Are you going to extend the same estate experience to those rural dwellers?
Exactly, because this, see, we have seen the problem. A lady called me last week and was talking about a land she bought in Ikorodu, 2 plots of land. That was like 5 years ago. And last year, and she's been going there every year to just check it out. Last year she got there, somebody else has built a bungalow on it. Now she's in court. I mean, that is not going to happen if she bought from
an estate.
Yeah, from a real estate company. And that is why we also have, you know, properties in those axes. Ikorodu, Epe, name it at least. Because so many people have really lost a lot and suffered, you know, because of all this kind of
bootleggers.
Exactly.
Okay, well, it's a good way forward. Letting Nigerians know that you don't have to deal with all this. Yeah. Now, but that is not removing from the fact that the land ownership concept in Africa, let's say we say in Nigeria, originally, is totally different from what you're now positioning. A lot of people know that land then would have been controlled by the royal homes or by families.
Yes, that is where the real estate company deals with them. Yeah, that is where the real estate company must have, you know, sorted them out, blah, 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 cleared, done all the, you know, due diligence and all that before, you know,
you now come to development.
Exactly.
Also, you have done the basic work for the land, for the house owner.
Oh, definitely. You're not hijacking it from them. Yeah, I mean, whether you like it or not, you're still paying the family. But I mean, as a company, with all the resource you have, you've done all the legal, you've brought all the parties together, and I mean, you know, everybody have signed and you've cleared and documented. So before you now move to the stage of even, you know, calling on people to
come and buy.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, considering your multi-linked and multi-sectoral consulting experiences and expertise, now, what are the decisive forward and backward linkages which can help boost this economy? Because you have said something earlier on, citing the Dangote experience. So do you think we can replicate that across the board?
Yes, we see governance, we are realizing, is not just in the hands of
government.
That is the truth. Private individuals must also come to the table and put what they, and that's what Dangote also did.
Yes.
Now the government now wants to take 20%, or rather want to invest 20% in what he has established. That is the truth. And everywhere in the world,
that's where the
private sector takes, whether the transportation, housing, it's government cannot do. Government is the idea that the government is like a Father Christmas or the father of all. I must feed all. I must house all. It's not realistic. That's the truth, and that is the stage we've just
realized.
Realized in Nigeria, where we've always been looking up to the government as the father, and then come and feed everybody. Even all the states today that are still feeding fat from Abuja and from the national, pause.
Yes.
I've also realized that they can no longer
sustain.
They can't even develop if they're just waiting for the monthly allocation, because that can't solve their problem anymore. And that is where Lagos State, has veered off before now.
Okay, now let me come to the question of how the citizens themselves can therefore take ownership and take responsibility. So in the housing sector, what should be the approach?
Like I said, I mean, even in all the real estate companies now, there are instrumental payments structure. Oh yes.
Oh, like a susu.
Oh yes, we've got 12-month payment plan, 24-month payment plan, 36-month payment plan. So it's something, that is why I said we have to just take the opportunity. It's no longer, because if we don't, then we're just delaying ourselves, and that's the truth. And that is why for some of the investments, it's just for you to put down maybe 100,000 for you to start, and then you spread your payment, which makes it easy.
You're saying that the entry level, therefore, is at the street level.
Oh yes, exactly. That's
even
the idea.
That means someone who's a mechanic.
Oh yes, now of course we've got a lot. Some of the marketers actually go inside the market. Dumagbo, Okeari. I mean, that's people like that are. In fact, the truth of the matter is that in another 5 years' time, you'll be amazed the people who are going to own
estates.
Yeah, that is the truth. Because
you
and I had this opportunity 30 years ago.
Yes, by now.
I'm telling you, that's the truth.
Okay, now let me bring it home to where we are. Would your plans also accommodate organizations like this? Would you look at...
Oh, corporate. Oh, yes, there's corporate planning as well. There are corporate structures. There are companies that also...
No. We are not looking at company. NTA is not a company. NTA is a private... It's like a public service thing. So would you be able to accommodate...
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we categorize them all under corporate. So whether organization or civil servants or whatever, they are all, incorporated.
Oh, great. Okay, all right. So I'm going to be asking some of our staff to make sure they get in touch with Otumba, and let's see what is going to now be on the table for us. Now it has been reported that, okay, yes, you mentioned this before, but now my own question is this. 60 trillion naira. That's the value they put on what we think we need to spend. You have said that estate developers, you source funds. You sure we can get that kind of funding for Nigeria? Do you think Nigeria provides the kind of profile where other foreign investors or local investors who think that they can invest 60 trillion in a country where it's not stable?
There's a strategy Dangote used to raise funds
for this project.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are talking about an investment of almost $19 billion. It didn't come from just one source. That is it. So, part of what real estate company, I don't know if you have heard of anything called land banking. There's also what we call land banking.
I'm just saying that.
Oh, yes. There's what we call land banking, where also individuals, also invest fund in real estate companies, and then real estate company in turn invest in land. And when any land you buy now, of course they will invest in the real high fast growing areas. So you invest in those areas in 12 months, definitely you are getting almost 100%, and then you are paying back investors maybe 30%. So that is one aspect that, we have been raising funds. And apart from that, this installmental strategy of, payment is also helping out. So that is why I said in another 2-3 years' time, these will have multiplying effect, to actually finance even, investment in land and real estate. And then apart from that, I mean, when people actually know the value and the fact that the only asset that is called real asset, real estate, is landed property. And what I advise friends that, when you build, building depreciates.
Yes.
But the land
appreciates. Yes.
So if you're smart, except for the houses you want to live or a house that you want to commercialize, you rather invest in land. Leave it there. Land is the only thing, without spending a dime on it, the value keeps increasing.
That's another carrot. Now, I'm increasing my consultancy charges because it's giving too many. By the way, I've asked that we join the conversation. Please, let's have your calls or your comments. Either you send SMS if you are experiencing drop calls. I expect many of you are already experiencing drop calls. Please send SMS message. Let me just give you the dedicated line. The line is dedicated for your SMS. Please, 080-6350-8434. 080-6350-8434. Drop your SMS and let Otumba Gbemi tell you exactly. If you think you have 100,000 naira that is flying around somewhere, don't go and expend it on something that is not going to appreciate. That's what he's telling you. So you better just call him and find out from him how you can reinvest that. Now, some have said again that in terms of the enabling environment and legislative governance of the sector, that we have too many disincentives, discouragement, too many obstacles, too many red tapes, too many. In your experience, yes, I know you have overcome some of those things, but in your experience, how discouraging is that to the individual?
Have you heard this phrase, this statement, that every problem is a business?
Every problem is a business.
If you have headache now,
it's a business. Somebody
to the doctor. If you have an accident, it's a business to somebody. If your car stops on the road, it's a business to somebody. The fact that you need a comfortable place to sleep, is a business to somebody. Why do most of us go to church or mosque? We need spiritual, and then rest. Some people are driving jets on top of that. So every problem has a solution that will benefit you and the people you are providing a solution for. You're on air today because some people need information. You are solving a problem. In fact, some are craving and dying for some of the, tips that they're getting from here. Some people's lives will be transformed, or the trajectory of their lives will be shifting positively just because of one statement or one idea that they pick up from here. So for me, every life's challenge is an opportunity to rethink, replan, re-strategize. And the same way they say, in fact, do you know that most of the successful people in the world also had the greatest failures?
As we were growing up.
We are talking about Dangote today because of the Dangote refinery. Do you know how many of the other industries is had that have, collapsed or failed? Nobody hears about that. But that is life. Failure is an opportunity to
start again.
Yeah. So it's not the end of.
But I'm looking at this, but not the failure or the threat of failure, but the structures that should have allowed people to actually benefit.
Yeah, we're talking about challenges.
Yes.
Let us look at the traffic in Lagos,
for instance.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. But do you know
because we're cutting it?
Oh yeah, because do you know that in that same traffic, some boys are making money.
It is already business for somebody else.
It is already business for somebody. So my attitude and my advice to people is that, for example, how come Nigerians excel anywhere they find themselves in the world? Why? Because we've been toughened here. Because we've been built here. Because in fact, I was discussing with my wife yesterday that with everything that we go through, there's no way that if you can survive here, then you will survive anywhere.
Even in Antarctica.
In the world.
Even in the Arctic.
So, I mean, if we feel that, government is not, and like I said, government cannot do everything. That is a fact.
So we should change our mindset.
Yes, but what can we make use of?
From what?
Yes. Because the same home that produces a billionaire can also produce a pauper. The same circumstance, the same scenario. So what is the difference? It's just the attitude, it's the mindset. How do we see it? Do you see it as a challenge?
Or as a business?
Thank you. Or do you see it as a problem? If you see it as a problem, then you can fold your hand and be crying. If you see it as a challenge, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to beat you one day. And then you strive again. So whatever is not in our system or whatever opportunities are not there, the few opportunities that are there, how best can we turn it around?
Okay, let's talk about opportunities again. Mortgaging. Okay, mortgage financing all over the world seems to be, well, the route to go. But in Nigeria, mortgage financing is already buried.
Well, as you know, mortgage is, by banks. And if you don't have the banks there to finance, then you cannot really be talking about mortgaging. And that is the truth. So mortgage has not thrived here. Before any bank can give you mortgage, there's a whole lot of long story, a whole lot of profiling that, has to be done. That is not available to the common, man.
But how do you feel about that, coming from the fact that you also worked in that sector, in the banking industry?
Well, what do we do? Nigeria is what it is. And then don't forget also, a lot has also changed, even in the banking sector. A lot has changed. Even the, whether you like it or not, technology has also,
impacted.
Yeah, a lot of things. So even the banks must be thinking about remodeling and then, changing some of their policies and strategies. Now you can open a bank account just right on your phone. You don't need a marketer to do that. So very soon, even the marketers in banks, won't be needed anymore. So a whole lot of things
will change. Now, okay, let's look at the next generation. So how do we shift this? We are looking at a knowledge-based economy as we approach the new futures, post-pandemic. So would you see next generation buying into some of these profiles you have given to us here today? Do you think they want to see themselves as, like you said, land bank? What is that?
Land banking?
Yes.
What's investing into land banking?
Yes.
Yeah, well, like I said, funny enough, even with 100,000, you can do that. Whether you want to place it for 6 months or 1 year, or depending. But at least your money can work for you. And because
so yes, are you targeting the younger generation with this kind of offer?
Oh yes, that is it. Not just the younger generation alone, the low income earners can also invest. It's not just, and then for the younger generation, like I said earlier, they have an opportunity to, because of technology, because of social media. And then most of the people that, are coming for our program this weekend are also being exposed to how they can use their Instagram, their WhatsApp, their Facebook for marketing purposes. It shouldn't just be for you doing selfies and all that. Because the world has gone global. We are transacting with people now in the US, in, all across the globe, just via WhatsApp. I talk to my Chinese partners right on WhatsApp. Business is being done all through. So the same way, the younger generation, instead of going into selfies, convert it to business. And every one of us have an area of influence. There are people who, that they belong to. They belong to a group, a class, a set. So they can, use that. And there are so many of the young generations today who have already keyed into that. They are already doing business, selling their wares on Instagram and this, and it's good business. In fact, a friend of mine was telling me his wife sells, at home. That she doesn't need to go and get a shop.
Yes.
And she sells baby stuff. Stuff. And then she's doing very well.
Online.
Oh yes, online.
Okay, so you are hearing that stop all the selfie business and let's do some land business online. But you have to consult with me first. Now, again, quickly, there is this question of inflationary trends, you know, because by the time you have actually invested in the land and you're not trying to develop the land, then what happens?
Well,
So,
like I also said, land is the only thing in the last 30 years, despite that the dollar keeps getting worse, inflation keeps rising, the value keeps appreciating. So that's why I said if you're smart, that is the only sector that you can put your money in and go to sleep.
Peacefully.
Yeah, because it does not matter whether inflation is rising, whether the dollar is, the value just keeps rising.
Wow. All right. Okay. We are going to be appreciating Otumba as we try to look at what the future will unfold. So, what's your last word? I don't know. We have issues with our telephone lines, so the messages are not coming. So, can you encourage our viewers?
Well, all I'm going to say is that don't be discouraged because of what is happening. Whatever is happening in Nigeria is not just in Nigeria alone. This is global.
And it's a phase.
Yeah, COVID-19 has already changed world order. Yeah, globally. That is why today even the U.S. is struggling to remain a world power. And so a lot is happening. But all I can say is that do your best, put in your best, think outside the box. This is also just a phase. It will pass.
Beautiful. Otumba Bemi Oyeneyin, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And for our viewers, we always try to confirm with you and to restate the fact that it's never over with us with this conversation. So go to all our social media platforms, just like our guest has advised. It's not just about the selfies. Yes, the selfies are good, but you can do more than that. You can also sell your land, you know, online. Okay, so what he has profiled for us is a takeaway that we can do this in spite of the situation or the circumstances of today. It is a phase. That is his word, and it's going to pass. So, until next week, let it pass.
Guinean special forces seized power in a coup, arresting the president and promising to change the political makeup of the West African country.